Good morning, Harriet Gifford students and staff. Today is Thursday, and we are on page 137, and they did the first one for you, but I'm going to read the directions and start off with B. Hopefully you can't hear that it's raining right now. It's kind of bumming me out, but we're going to do what we need to do anyways, okay? So let me read the directions. It says, rewrite the division expression as a fraction and then divide. So with our knowledge, we're going to be dividing decimals, and with our knowledge of tenths and hundredths and how many are in certain numbers, then we'll be able to divide, okay? So let's start off with the first part of this, which is rewriting the division expression as a fraction. So all I have to do, this is 2 7/10 divided by, so I have 2 7/10 divided by 3/100, okay? So divided by 3/100. So all I did was take this and flip it and turned it into a fraction, into fraction form, okay? So now that it's this expression is in a fraction, how can we divide this? Well, it's going to be super hard to divide this with these decimals, and things might get a little funky. So what we need to do is get rid of the decimals. So we rewrote it. Now we have to get rid of the decimals. And how we do that is multiplying it, both the top and the bottom part, by the same number that will get rid of the decimals. So if this is in the tens place, if I multiply both the top and the bottom by 10, then this decimal will still be there, right? This number is in the hundredths place, so if I multiply it by 100, then it'll get rid of this and also this decimal, okay? So I'll show you. So I'm going to take 2 7/10 times 100 over 3/100 times 100. Okay, and we know that we'll just move this decimal to the, however many zeros that you're multiplying by, you move the decimal to the right. So if I move the decimal to the right 2 times, I'll have 270. Okay, so how many hundredths are in 2 7/10? Well, there's 270, and you guys did that in the last lesson, okay? And then same here, so how many hundredths are in 3/100? Well, there are 3. So now we got rid of the decimals, and we just have to divide now. Now we have 270 divided by 3. If I need to, I can go over here and do 270 divided by 3. I know that 3 goes into 27 9 times. So 9 times 3 is 27. I subtract, that's 0. I have to bring down the 0, bring it up right here, so 90. Okay, and then that's our answer. And you'll know if you multiplied these top and bottom numbers, the numerator and denominator, you'll know if you did it right if there are no more decimals left, okay? So let's move on to the next one so I can show you some different ones. So this is 3 5/10 divided by, so I'm going to do 3 5/10 divided by 5/10. So the first thing I did was I rewrote it into fraction. And now I have to get rid of my decimals. So I'm going to multiply it by something that will get rid of these decimals. Do I have to divide it by 100? Or multiply it, by 100? No, because there's nothing in the hundredths place, right? There's only the numerator and the denominator both have numbers only in the tenths place. So I'm going to multiply both the top and the bottom number by 10 to get rid of the decimals. So I have 3 5/10 times 10, and then I have 5/10 times 10. And I know that how many tenths are in 3 5/10? Well, there are 35. And then how many 5/10 are in tenths? Well, there are 5. And now all I have to do is divide. So I'm going to take 35 divided by 5. And I know that 5 times 7 is 35. And that's a remainder 0. So my answer is 7. Okay? So the first step, you need to rewrite it as a fraction. Let's do one more together. So I'm going to rewrite, this one is also the same numbers, just a little different. So you have to make sure you're paying attention to where the decimals are. So I have 3 5/10, just like last time, divided by, this time I have 5/100, which means I have to multiply by 100 in order to get rid of that decimal, okay? So I'm going to do 3 5/10 times 100 and 5/100 times 100. Okay? And I'm not multiplying the top by 10 because anything you do to the bottom or the top, you have to do to the opposite, okay? So anything you do to the top, you must do to the bottom. Anything you do to the bottom, you must do it to the top, because remember, they're fractions, so they're equal pieces, all right? We got to keep it balanced, all right? It's like a scale. So we know that how many hundredths are in 3 5/10? There are 35. Oh, I'm sorry. How many hundredths are in 3? If it was tenths like we did here, it would be 35. But I had to tack on that extra 0 because it's hundredths. There's 350 hundredths in 3 5/10. Okay? So now how many hundredths are in 5/100? Okay? Just 5. All right. So now we have to divide. So 350 this time divided by 5. If you want to rewrite it, you can. If not, I know that 35 divided by 5 was 7. So if I add that extra 0, it's going to be 70.